Okay, let's unpack this. We are diving into a crisis that starts with something, well, something truly
It
innocuous.
really is. A peaceful, ordinary morning in an Essex bird sanctuary.
And from there, it just spirals until the fate of the entire known universe is hanging on the combined, and I have to say, bickering wills of three different versions of the same genius.
It's a spectacular example of how a tiny ripple in exotic physics, a cosmic anomaly, can just instantly escalate into a civilization-ending temporal war.
Right.
The source material we're exploring today is a really deep, detailed account of this whole event, and it traces the strange physics of the initial attack and, the profound self-imposed imprisonment of this powerful entity known as Omega.
So our mission here is to move way beyond just a plot summary. We need to really understand the mechanics of this space lightning, the unsettling nature of the antimatter invasion, and that central paradox.
The paradox being how the ultimate power imaginable led to an ultimate psychological breakdown.
Exactly. It's a study in maximum energy, maximum ego, and, well, minimum existence, as it turns out.
Precisely. If you are looking for a shortcut to understanding the limits of universal laws and the tyranny of a trapped God, this is it. We have to track this crisis from the very first moment.
The moment an ordinary warden named Arthur Hollis just vanishes.
All the way to the final brilliant stroke of ingenuity that literally saved time itself.
Let's start right there with the catalyst, Arthur Hollis. He's described as a stocky, gray-haired warden of this bird sanctuary. He finds this strange, silvery gray balloon snagged in a tree, and there's an orange box dangling underneath it. He approaches it, cautiously, and sees these thick black letters. Reward. Please contact Dr. Tyler.
And this is the exact point where the mundane meets the cosmic. Hollis, probably thinking he's just retrieving a piece of weather equipment or something.
Of course.
He unhooks the box. The source makes a point of noting that the box was surprisingly heavy.
Which is an important detail.
A very important detail. He stumbles, falls with his full weight right onto the box, and that single action triggers the catastrophe. There's a sudden fierce crackle, a flash of light, and Arthur Hollis vanishes.
Gone.
Yeah.
Instantly, completely, violently removed from our reality.
And the man who made the equipment, this Dr. Tyler, he shows up later and is just completely baffled. Tyler is described as a tubby, fair-haired man from the local university, your classic academic tinkerer.
And he says his device, which he admits he knocked it up myself from odds and ends in the lab, was this really sophisticated cosmic ray monitoring unit. But it was already registering something. Something utterly terrifying before Hollis even touched it.
Right. Tyler had already seen the anomaly in his data. He was already planning to contact official channels, maybe even UNIT, because what he was seeing just defied all known physics.
What was he seeing? I mean, what does a physics-defying signal even look like?
Well, standard cosmic ray bombardment creates, a random scattering effect on his printouts, just noise, basically.
Right.
But Tyler's latest printout was different. It was focused.
And this is where the data becomes so visually terrifying. He shows the doctor and Joe Grant the printouts, and the image is just slashed across by what looks like a single jagged streak of energy. It's not a burst. It's a directed line.
And the measurements were impossible. Tyler just lays out his panic to the doctor. He says, if these readings are correct, Dr. Tyler, this, whatever it is, travels faster than light.
And then he asks the big question.
He does. And it can't it? Which is just the ultimate understatement. In our universe, nothing with mass can exceed the speed of light. To see something demonstrably travel faster than that is to see a fundamental law of physics just shattered right in front of you.
It sounds less like a scientific reading and more like a cosmic cry of distress. Tyler described it so vividly, and I think this quote really gets to the emotional core of it.
What did he say?
He said, a shriek of pain traveling across the galaxy. It's come all that way, through millions of star systems. It must have been directed at us. Why?
That suspicion of direction is, of course, instantly validated by the doctor. He dismisses the idea of it being natural, conventional lightning. He identifies it as a controlled, superlucent emission.
Superlucent emission. What does that actually mean?
It means it was engineered. It's a compressed, highly focused beam of energy that was intentionally aimed at Earth. Or, to be more specific, aimed right at Tyler's sophisticated, if a bit cobbled together, device.
So his equipment was basically a high-tech cosmic beacon.
Exactly. It was sending out a signal that something on the other end could lock onto.
And the connection between this superlucent emission and the missing man, Arthur Hollis, That's what provides the first real moment of absolute horror in this whole thing.
It is. Tyler develops the photographic plate from inside the orange box, the very last thing Hollis touched.
And what does he see?
He holds it up, and that same jagged streak of space lightning is superimposed right across the blurred, screaming face of Arthur Hollis.
Oh.
This is the crucial realization. The energy beam wasn't just a communication line, it was a deadly transfer mechanism, a bridge designed to pull matter from our universe into another one.
And to allow something from that other universe to cross over into ours.
Precisely. Hollis was the first piece of matter captured and converted.
So now the Doctor and Joe have confirmation. Hollis didn't just vanish, he was captured. He was converted into data or energy or something.
And Tyler, he's still reeling from seeing his victim's face imprinted on his own research. He goes back to the lab to try and dismantle this orange box to understand its components.
But he's distracted.
Completely distracted by the sheer terror of it, and this distraction proves fatal. Huddled in the corner of the box, in among all the wiring, he finds a blob of jelly.
Just a blob of jelly.
A football-sized amorphous mass shot through with these iridescent colors like a patch of oil on a wet pavement.
And the description of this substance is so key to understanding its exotic nature. It wasn't just visually strange. The source notes it was hard to focus your eyes on, as if in some strange way it wasn't quite there.
It existed on the edge of perception.
Yeah.
That visual instability strongly suggests what its composition is. Tyler, in a moment of sheer scientific curiosity mixed with fatigue, just reaches out and pokes the blob.
Oh, no.
And the result is instantaneous and horribly familiar. A sudden fierce crackle, and Tyler vanishes just like Hollis.
But this time is different.
It's very different, because now the blob itself is activated and loose, not in a quiet bird sanctuary, but inside the very heart of the Military Defense Organization unit headquarters.
So the threat is now actively tracking its target.
It is. The blob immediately displays this predatory, almost intelligent behavior. It slides along the bench, drops into a sink, and then just vanishes down the plug hole, lying in wait.
And its objective is singular, right?
Absolutely. It later emerges from a drain in the unit car park, and it's responding to the sound of the Doctor's voice. This confirms the organism is targeting the Doctor specifically. The Time Lord's presence has alerted it.
The Doctor, he's maneuvering Bessie, his beloved Edwardian roadster, and he tries to put the car between himself and this advancing creature. He and Joe sprint inside and bolt the door, and they're watching through the glass panel as the antimatter creature makes its move.
And that's when they witness the true nature of this material's destructive capability. There's a bright, silent flash that just engulfs Bessie.
And the roadster's just gone.
Vanishes from existence. The Doctor, who had been running searches ever since the discovery at the sanctuary, he finally confirms his greatest fear. He was searching for antimatter, something that can't exist, not in this universe anyway.
Let's just pause on that for a second, because the physics of antimatter is the core thread here. For anyone listening, matter and antimatter are essentially mirror images of each other.
Right. And if a single particle of antimatter meets its corresponding particle of matter, say an anti-electron meets an electron, they instantly annihilate each other.
In a massive burst of energy, which is why the Brigadier points out that such a meeting can't happen without a colossal explosion.
But that's what's so terrifying about this blob. It's not just that it is antimatter, it's that it exists stably in our matter-filled universe.
Which shouldn't be possible.
It shouldn't. It means whoever sent it has figured out a way to bridge the two universes and create a temporary, contained state of existence for this substance in our environment.
So the destruction of Bessie wasn't an explosion, it was something else.
It was a silent, complete, and utterly controlled annihilation. The creature isn't just reacting, it is proactively consuming matter.
And this antimatter organism isn't just a scout. It's quickly revealed to be an invasion force.
Yeah, the source describes this sudden, terrifying escalation. The initial blob, which was just waiting motionless in the darkness of the drainage system, it begins to glow and crackle and grow.
And this is the moment the reproductive capability kicks in.
It starts dividing repeatedly. The process is described almost mathematically. 2 pieces, 4 pieces, 8 pieces, 16 pieces, 32 pieces.
That's exponential growth.
A runaway reaction. It rapidly leads to an army of them swarming through the drainage pipes.
As this army emerges from the drains all around Unit HQ, they start to swell up. The size increases until they take on this truly nightmarish man shape.
Yes. a huge figure with round, featureless head and thick, blobby arms and legs. They're this truly alien, unsettling inversion of humanity.
And this, of course, triggers the full military response. The brigadier orders the troops to open fire.
But all conventional tactics prove worse than useless. The source explicitly details that bullets from a Sterling submachine gun just slice through the jelly-like substance of the creatures' bodies.
And they just keep coming.
They continue their steady, silent advance without even a pause. They lack the biological structure needed for conventional trauma to have any effect.
Sergeant Ben, ever the pragmatist, decides to up the ante. He grabs an anti-tank rifle.
Good old Betha.
He scores a direct hit, and it blasts one of these colossal jelly creatures into 100 pieces. But the victory only lasts for a heartbeat.
And this is the crucial difference between conventional and antimatter warfare. The little blobs immediately start to roll back toward each other. They reform the full-size creature, which then starts moving toward Benton once more.
You can't destroy them by dispersal. They have this terrifying collective will to reconstitute.
Exactly. The military's inability to destroy them just confirms the doctor's earlier suspicion about the organism's focus. He tells the brigadier, "They're not interested in you or your men. Keep out of their way and they won't harm you."
And he reluctantly draws the only logical conclusion.
"I'm very much afraid it wants me." The enemy is intelligent, hostile, and exclusively targeting the Time Lord. That confirms the vast cosmic stakes of this fight.
This focused hostility, combined with the escalating antimatter threat trying to engulf the TARDIS itself, it drives the Doctor to desperation.
He realizes this isn't a localized problem he can solve with Earth science. This threat operates on a scale that endangers not just the planet, but the entire fabric of time.
So he sighs, opens this concealed hatch in the console, a place reserved only for the ultimate crisis, and he presses a tiny red button, the emergency SOS.
And he admits, this is one of the very few times in my life when I've had to ask them for help.
And that single statement, coming from a Time Lord who prides himself on self-sufficiency and having, severed ties with his people.
It's all the confirmation we need. The scope of the threat is universal, and it requires temporal intervention.
The emergency SOS takes us millions of light years away to the temporal control room of the Time Lords on Gallifrey.
And what the Doctor was probably hoping would be this strong response center is actually, well, it's in a state of advanced, terrifying decay.
The source material paints a picture of systemic failure. The Time Lord's vast, powerful hall, which is usually bustling and intensely lit, is in semi-darkness, with only a few monitors flickering faintly.
And the senior Time Lords, the President and the Chancellor, they're described as two tired and frightened old men. Despite all the splendor of their ceremonial robes, the power drain is actively collapsing their entire civilization.
Their crisis is made visible on one massive central monitor, which is showing a panorama of deep space. At the center of their temporal safety net is this sinister anomaly.
A jagged black hole in space which seemed to pulse and quiver with evil life. It's like an open wound in reality.
The Time Lord President reveals the physics of their crisis to his peers, which we can now link directly back to the antimatter on Earth. This void is actively draining vital cosmic energy away from their universe.
They're facing a force equal yet opposite to our own from the universe of antimatter.
And the drain isn't just abstract, it's existential. The President warns that the energy loss is so severe that their entire time travel facility, the very mechanism that gives them mastery over time, will soon be endangered.
Which means Gallifrey is facing temporal paralysis and potential annihilation. They're on the verge of being rendered utterly helpless against this opposing force.
And then they recognize the winking light of the Doctor's SOS.
The irony is, they were actually preparing to seek his help, the rogue operative, because he's the only Time Lord operating outside their affected temporal system.
But as the President laments, and we have none to give him,
that just confirms the depth of their desperation.
And this desperation leads them to the ultimate taboo, breaking the foundational law of their civilization. The Time Lords are rigidly governed by their laws, and the one that stands above all others is the first-time law.
That law strictly forbids a Time Lord from crossing their own time stream and meeting an earlier version of themselves. The consequences, temporal paradoxes, reality instability, are believed to be catastrophic.
The Chancellor is appalled. He demands the President immediately forbid the very thought.
But the President, gesturing to the darkened hall and the flickering monitors, delivers this chilling response. "We are all of us fighting for our lives. Is this a time for rules?"
He realizes they can't send another fully powered Time Lord because everyone available is needed to fight the energy drain. but they can use their dwindling resources to recall a previous incarnation of the Doctor to the present.
It's the only possible solution. They need the Doctor's unique mix of ingenuity, adaptability, and recklessness. But they need it multiplied.
So the resources are marshaled, and Doctor 2 arrives in the TARDIS.
Literally rolling across the floor as a round wooden object.
A wonderful entrance. The Doctor picks up the object, frowning at it, and this newly materialized, middle-sized, middle-aged man in a shabby old frock coat and rather baggy check trousers snatches it back, slightly huffy.
And declares, properly speaking, the instrument is known as a recorder.
Sergeant Benton, who has seen it all, he just recognizes him immediately. "Hello, Doctor. Where did you spring from?"
But Jo Grant is completely bewildered. The sudden appearance of a second, identical yet different man. She gives the perfect human reaction. He's not so much one of them as one of me.
And this is the point where the crisis of identity really begins for the companions.
The immediate priority, though, is information transfer. The Doctor quickly agrees to the telepathic conference, or contact.
The source describes the immense mental energy required, flowing between them like a torrent of data. Doctor 2 rapidly absorbs everything that's happened on Earth Hollis, Tyler, Bessie, the Jelly.
While the third Doctor learns about the black hole crisis, the Time Lord's energy drain, and the identity of the entity behind it all, the legendary Omega.
But the moment that information transfer is complete, the mission is nearly derailed by a personality crash.
They're two opposing parts of the same personality, too much alike to cooperate peacefully, yet different enough in style to despise each other. The argument erupts furiously, and it's centered entirely around Doctor 2's recorder.
The insults start flying immediately, just highlighting the different styles of the incarnations. The dandy, more formal Doctor condemns his earlier self,
Philistine and cacophony,
which are met with this childish indignation, balderdash, and tripe. The younger version even scorns the older Doctor for having no time to listen to paratittles on your piccolo. It's high drama driven by pure ego.
And the Time Lord president, watching this spat on his monitor, the potential saviors of the universe squabbling over a musical instrument, he realizes they need an anchor, a neutralizer, to enforce command.
If two Doctors are too close to cooperate, they need the original, undeniable authority figure.
But the power on Gallifrey is failing rapidly. The junior Time Lord warns that they can't achieve a full physical manifestation.
So the first Doctor appears, but only as a face on the TARDIS scanner screen, flickering in and out of view.
His appearance alone is enough to silence the younger versions instantly. He's depicted as a lined, white-haired old man with a face full of dignity, power, and a touch of cranky bad temper.
He represents the foundational, formidable genius they both once were.
And he wastes no time on pleasantries. He delivers this biting chastisement. "So you're what I have become, are you? A dandy and a clown."
He tells them off for squabbling like spoiled brats when the universe is at stake. It immediately resets their focus.
His crucial directive is the tactical key to the whole operation. He confirms what the younger Doctors had only suspected. The antimatter jelly is not a barrier, it is a bridge.
And what is a bridge for?
"Crossing!" he shrieks, giving the definitive, unmistakable order. "One of you must stay to keep an eye on the situation here, and the other must cross it."
The survival of the universe depends on one of them plunging right into that antimatter mass,
After a brief, slightly suspicious coin toss.
which Doctor 2 hastily wins.
Ensuring his survival in the normal universe, the third Doctor steps out of the TARDIS and allows the giant, pulsing antimatter mass to engulf him.
And Jo Grant leaps out after him, unwilling to abandon her friend. They both vanish in a brilliant, soundless flash.
With the third Doctor gone, the focus shifts entirely back to Doctor 2, Benton, and the Brigadier, who remains completely fixed on imposing military order on a crisis that has long since left reality behind.
And the Brigadier's denial here is just fantastic. It's a perfect illustration of the human mind failing to process the inexplicable.
Totally.
When he sees Doctor 2, he doesn't accept the reality of a Time Lord meeting himself. He splutters, "Why has he changed back again?"
He can't get his head around it.
Not at all. When Benton tries to explain there are two of them, the Brigadier asserts crisply, "I don't believe a word of it. It's perfectly obvious what's happened. You've been fiddling with that infernal machine of yours."
He's blaming the TARDIS.
He is. He thinks the Doctor somehow changed his appearance back and shot poor Miss Grant off heaven knows where. He dismisses the TARDIS as an optical illusion, the vanishing of Bessie as an accounting problem, and the entire science of it as scientific mumbo-jumbo.
He can't accept the metaphysical crisis, so he retreats to what's familiar, a trick, a costume change, a misunderstanding.
It's a temporary comic relief before the full horror of the antimatter physics really takes hold.
Meanwhile, Dr. Two, he's determined to understand the inert antimatter blob before it expands again, so he attempts an experiment. He rigs up this complicated generator from lab odds and ends, designed to confuse the creature by feeding it useless and conflicting information.
He thinks he can overload its simple consciousness.
Right. So he sets the power dial to a modest 50.
But this is where the logic of antimatter just flips everything on its head. Sergeant Benton, ever the loyal but physically focused soldier, decides to fry the wretched stuff once and for all.
Thinking more power is better.
Always. He cranks the dial up. The reading spikes into the 60s, 70s, 80s, and eventually hits 100.
And instead of confusing or harming the blob, this only stimulates it. It begins to grow fiercely, crashing free of the reflectors Dr. Two had rigged up, and it rapidly swells in size, turning into this colossal, pulsating mass.
Dr. Two realizes his fundamental catastrophic mistake.
A mistake rooted in assuming matter logic applies to antimatter. He yells, "Of course, we were dealing with antimatter. All my calculations should have been reversed. We weren't calming it, we were stimulating it."
In our universe, applying power to a system usually increases disorder or complexity.
But in the antimatter universe, the inverse is true. The power was interpreted by the blob as a supportive, focusing energy, allowing it to rapidly grow and stabilize. The crisis just accelerates instantly.
The giant, pulsating antimatter mass fills the entire laboratory, flows into the corridors, and starts engulfing the whole unit building.
Dr. Two, Benton, and the Brigadier retreat into the TARDIS, securing themselves just as the whole building is swallowed up.
The result is total spatial transposition. Corporal Palmer and the remaining unit troops, they've been evacuated to an overlooking hill, and they watch as this massive, glistening blob just obscures the entire structure.
Then, an enormous white flash filled the air, followed by blackness. When their vision returns, the building, foundation and all, is gone, replaced by a huge rectangular patch of black earth.
Unit HQ has been physically stolen.
Inside the TARDIS, the occupants experience this violent, chaotic jolt. Dr. Two, recovering quickly, explains the mechanics of it all.
He says the antimatter found the TARDIS a bit indigestible by itself, being a non-Euclidean space-time vessel.
So it swallowed some of the surrounding matter as well, like washing down a pill with a swig of water.
The whole building was consumed just to stabilize the mass transfer.
And the Brigadier, still in utter denial, marches out of the TARDIS, fully expecting to see the familiar unit car park.
Instead, he finds himself facing miles of gray dunes, stretching ahead as far as the eye could see.
His reaction is priceless, and it's the moment his denial finally breaks. He just says, "Do you realize what you've done, Doctor? You've stolen the whole of Unit HQ."
Which confirms they've been completely transported. Meanwhile, the third Doctor and Joe wake up in that same terrifying landscape.
It's a world of dull gray in color, bleak, desolate, and lifeless. The atmosphere is just oppressive.
Joe notes the terrifying silence that permeates this new reality. No wind noise, no bird song, just a dead, sinister calm.
The sky is a threatening purple, and everything feels horribly wrong, vibrating with an unnatural stillness that just suggests unnatural control.
The Doctor confirms their location, referencing the physics that Tyler observed. He says, "We're at the other end of your streak of space lightning, transported through a black hole. We're in a stable world in a universe of antimatter, an anomaly within an impossibility."
This world shouldn't exist. It's a localized, willed pocket of antimatter stability that has to be maintained by immense energy.
And that stability wasn't just for living beings. They find their lost possessions, green filing cabinets, laboratory benches, stools.
And most startlingly, Bessie, just sedately parked in a hollow.
Every piece of matter consumed by the Jelly Hollis Tyler Bessie Unit HQ has been reconstituted here. That speaks volumes about the incredible power of the being who controls this world.
They even find Dr. Tyler, who arrived earlier, and is desperately trying to apply Earth logic to the impossible. He's saying, if you equate gravitation with acceleration, I must have traveled here faster than light. And that's impossible, by definition.
The man is still operating on conventional rules, and he's facing a mental breakdown.
But these momentary reunions are cut short. The blob men, the transformed antimatter organisms, appear on the dunes. They are now serving as jailers, herding them all towards their ultimate destination.
The fortress of their master.
Their forced march ends at a destination that perfectly reflects the megalomania of its creator. a towering, sinister castle beaten from solid brass.
It features this strange, severe Oriental architecture, and it's glinting dully and threateningly beneath that purple sky.
Inside this brazen castle, they meet their host, Omega. He's an immediately imposing and terrifying figure. 7 feet tall, clad in long metallic robes, and crowned with a truly horrific brazen mask.
A huge, cruel metal face with long, slanting eye slits.
And the detail the source provides about the mask is chilling. Behind those eye slits, there is nothing, only blackness.
That immediately suggests that Omega isn't just wearing a costume. The mask is integral to his survival and his identity.
When the doctor hears the name Omega, he is completely shocked. He gasps, "No, no, you can't be. You were destroyed."
So this establishes Omega not just as a villain, but as a titanic, revered, almost mythical figure in Time Lord history who was presumed dead for millennia.
Omega then spins his tale, the tragedy of his own ego. He reveals he was the solar engineer who performed the incredible feat of solar engineering. He detonated a star, the Veil Nebula, and harnessed its explosion.
Which created the colossal power source, the Eye of Harmony, that gave the Time Lords mastery over time itself.
He literally made their entire civilization possible.
But Omega claims he was abandoned. The supreme sacrifice to that supernova, blown out of existence into this world of antimatter.
This is his core narrative. He was a hero, betrayed and exiled by the very people he saved. He is consumed by this profound self-pity and an overwhelming desire for vengeance, booming, "I should have been a god."
He explains his attack plan. He created the black hole to drain the Time Lord's power source, the very energy generated by the star he detonated. He's siphoning cosmic energy from their universe into mine. As they grow weaker, I grow stronger.
And he chose Earth because the Doctor's exile there made him an isolated, perfect target through which to launch his universal attack.
This is a sophisticated villain. He's not just seeking power, but validation and retribution. He's using their shared history to manipulate the Doctor.
Now we have to grapple with the extent of his power in this antimatter realm.
He boasts about the absolute terrifying extent of his mastery here. Here, Doctor, everything is possible. I can create whatever I wish by the exercise of my will.
His will is the physical law of this universe.
We see immediate demonstrations of this. When he rages, his mood directly affects his environment. The metal walls glow with an evil fire and thunder rumbles, even though this world has no atmosphere. He exteriorizes his emotions into physical reality.
But this immense absolute control leads directly to his horrific paradox. The moment the Doctor realizes Omega is trapped.
Omega confirms this grim, solitary reality. The world exists only because he wills it into being. He reveals that the moment he abandons active, continuous mental control, everything here would revert to chaos.
He's a prisoner, bound to the singularity he created. He needs the Doctors, multiple Time Lords, multiplied willpower to take over my burden of controlling the singularity so that he can finally be free.
The psychological toll of this forced control is immense. He demonstrates the fragility of this existence by making one wall fade to reveal this beautiful green landscape rolling fields and orchards.
Only for the colors and vegetation to immediately drain away, leaving only the oppressive gray dunes. He explains that maintaining beauty, happiness, or complexity requires too much effort after thousands of years of strain. His prison is his own mind.
This realization is the crucial strategic shift. The Doctors are no longer fighting physical force or even antimatter science. They are fighting an overwhelming, unstable, and ultimately insane mind.
And the crucial tactical insight doesn't come from a Time Lord. It comes from the human assistant, Jo Grant.
Right. They're trapped in a seamless metal cell, and Jo, just using simple human logic, connects the dots. She reminds them of Omega's power. If he can think up a cell, why can't you think up a door? You're a Time Lord, aren't you?
In fact, you're 2 Time Lords. Surely your wills combined are a match for his.
This is the moment their combined power is first really tested.
Dr. 2 seizes on this. He suggests that if the combination of their wills multiplies rather than just doubles, they have a chance to override the master will of Omega.
So they lock hands to their temples, focusing every ounce of temporal and mental energy. Contact.
They stare at the blank wall, willing a door into existence, concentrating on the geometric and mental necessity of an open passage.
And it works.
It works. The wall shimmers, and then faintly at first, then distinctly and undeniably, an open door in the hitherto blank cell wall appears.
The combined focus will of the 2 Doctors successfully counters Omega's absolute mental power. It provides them not only with an escape, but with the ultimate weapon against their captor, their minds. working in tandem.
With this renewed confidence, the knowledge that together they can breach Omega's reality, the two doctors slip away. They head deeper into the colossal brass palace, toward the center of Omega's universe, the point of singularity.
They find it behind a swirling curtain of flame stretched across a parabolic arch. Once they're through, they enter this high chamber where an enormous pillar of fire rises like a colossal fountain, disappearing into the roof recesses.
This is the flame of singularity, the raw antimatter energy source, reflecting Omega's mental conception of the colossal power he controls.
Omega appears, furious that his prisoners have demonstrated control over his environment. And Dr. Two, he's no longer the clown. He speaks with this clear, united authority, having locked wills with his other self.
He says, "Stop the energy drain. Free us and our friends, and we shall plead with the Time Lords to show you mercy. Otherwise, we shall combine our wills to destroy you."
This defiance, a threat of destruction in his own self-created reality, sends Omega into a fit of uncontrolled rage. He decides to demonstrate his total mastery by turning the chamber into an arena, like the ones used by the Caesars, with himself in a viewing stand, ready to execute his captive.
Then comes the terrifying spectacle, the fight incarnate. From a door in the arena shambles a monster, an 8-foot-tall humanoid, apparently made of smooth black granite, with long evil talons and small pointed ears.
And the Doctor immediately understands the source of this creature.
It is an incarnation of all the rage and hatred that Omega felt towards the Doctor. It's not flesh. It is pure, physicalized emotion.
The third Doctor, who's renowned for his physical prowess and mastery of Venusian Aikido, is immediately on the defensive.
But the fight is hopeless. The granite monster is immune to physical assault because it's pure thought. The Doctor's blows pass harmlessly through this manifestation of hatred.
He's eventually pinned to the ground and choked, desperately trying to ward off the creature's unfeeling granite claws.
Dr. Two, watching helplessly, is forced to beg for his counterpart's life. He realizes that Omega's rage is overriding his need for freedom. He pleads with the pitiless metal mask. "No, Omega, remember why you brought us here. You need us. If you kill him, you destroy your only chance of freedom."
There's this terrifying pause that stretches as Omega considers the logic. His sanity briefly asserts itself. The primal need for escape overcomes the raw emotion.
And the monster in the arena just vanish instantly. The Doctors find themselves back by the singularity flame, alive but utterly exposed to Omega's power.
It's at this moment that the Doctors switch tactics. They move from defiance to feigned subservience. Dr. Two adopts this humble demeanor, telling Omega he will obey. But first, he needs more information about the masks.
The suspicion has been raised. Omega, maybe trusting the promise of freedom, reveals that the masks are necessary because working with the light beam has a slow corrosive effect due to the acceleration of the particles.
So the metallic robes and mask aren't just ceremonial, they're necessary protection.
Exactly. And the Doctors realize the horrific implication. If the light beam corrodes ordinary matter, and Omega has been operating here for thousands of years, he must be suffering from this corrosion, possibly at a cellular level.
They approach to remove the mask, bracing themselves for a face ravaged by time and antimatter decay.
But the reality is far, far worse than any decaying face they could have imagined. As they unfasten the heavy metal headpiece and lift it slowly, they see nothing, just empty space.
The silence in the chamber after the mask is removed must have been deafening.
The Doctor confirms the final crushing truth. Your physical being has been eaten away. There is nothing left of you except your will.
This is the ultimate philosophical horror. Omega, the being who achieved total, absolute godlike power, the ability to create a universe from nothing, is himself nothing.
He is an essence, a consciousness, a will that built its own eternal, solitary prison.
Dr. Two delivers the compassionate but crushing final judgment. You have built your own prison. You can never leave it.
He can't even exist in the matter universe. His very existence is tied to this self-imposed reality of antimatter.
Faced with the reality that he is a non-being, a hollow suit of armor driven by pure ego and memory, Omega just snaps completely.
His anguish is absolute, converting into a manic, destructive impulse. If I exist only by my will is to destroy. All things shall be destroyed. All things.
And the castle immediately begins to fracture under the manic force of his despair. A great crack of thunder split open the roof, and the monumental brass walls buckle and crack.
The Doctors recognize their moment, plunging out into the chaotic, howling, self-annihilating storm that is now destroying Omega's world.
So the two Doctors race for the TARDIS, navigating this collapsing landscape, aided only by their innate homing instinct for the blue box.
They reach the unit HQ building, still perched incongruously on the gray sand, just as the blobmen, sensing their master's ultimate rage, attack again.
A chaotic firefight erupts. The Brigadier, Benton, Joe, Tyler, and even Hollis, who miraculously arrived after escaping a similar blob encounter on his own, they all provide covering fire.
The Brigadier unleashes everything from Sterlings to a Bren gun. The battle is one of delaying tactics, not destruction.
Because the blobmen can't be killed, the fragments just try to reassemble.
Right, but the concentrated firepower buys the doctors enough time to reach the TARDIS and re-engage the force field. They're safe, but trapped inside the police box while chaos reigns outside.
Inside the TARDIS, Dr. Two, stressed by the violence and the lack of a creative solution, is lamenting that he can't even find his flute to help him think.
And it's in that moment, that small, almost domestic detail, that the final conference is initiated, as the first doctor's image flickers back onto the scanner screen.
The three doctors lock together, hands on temples, the first doctor's face flickering on the screen in a desperate telepathic conference. The old man states the situation clearly, cutting through all the panic. All three are needed to defeat Omega-2, not enough. Must be totality.
They agree on the final, risky, and highly specific strategy.
And the breakthrough is the realization about Dr. Two's lost recorder, his flute.
He realizes it had dropped into the TARDIS force field core during the transit, and this is the crucial piece of technical knowledge. While the doctors and the humans had all been mentally converted by Omega's will to allow their matter to exist safely in the antimatter world, the inert wooden flute was not converted.
Let's just delve into that concept of mental conversion because it's critical. Omega's will is reality here.
Right. So to prevent instant annihilation when our matter entered his antimatter universe, Omega's consciousness had to instantaneously perform this colossal mental conversion on all incoming matter, changing their physical state, or at least the interaction with the environment, through sheer force of will.
But the flute, being an inert, simple piece of wood, was too simple, or too far down in the TARDIS core, or just too uninteresting to Omega's consciousness to be registered and converted.
It remained unconverted matter, matter from our universe that had slipped through the net.
And the doctors realize they have, inadvertently, created the ultimate weapon against Omega.
As Dr. Tyler, the captured scientist, astutely sums it up later, Omega and his world antimatter, put them together and finish.
The simple wooden flute, when it contacts the pure-willed antimatter essence of Omega, will trigger an immediate contained annihilation of his entire self-created universe.
So the doctors work furiously, using advanced electronic equipment from the TARDIS locker to rig up a portable force field casket designed to contain the wooden flute until the moment of use. They have to deliver this paradox directly to Omega.
The third doctor contacts the raising Omega, promising him his freedom and convincing him to free the TARDIS from the blockade, allowing them to land back in the Singularity Chamber at the base of the Pillar of Flame.
And here is the moment of sacrifice and ultimate trust, especially for the human companions. The doctor convinces his friends that he's struck a bargain and that they must leave immediately.
He orders them all to step into the massive Pillar of Flame, the flame of singularity. He assures them, it won't hurt you. On the contrary, it will take you home.
The Brigadier, having witnessed the impossible and seeing the collective will of the doctors, displays this complete, unshakable faith in the man he once considered a crank. He just takes charge.
He marshals Tyler and Hollis, who are hesitant. Then Benton steps in, carrying a protesting Joe, who fears it's suicide.
And finally, the Brigadier, the model of military discipline, straightens his cap, offers a sharp salute to the doctors, and steps smartly into the pillar of fire, vanishing instantly. He's trusting completely in the logic of impossible science.
Alone with Omega, the doctor holds out the portable casket. Omega is still doubtful, driven mad by the contradiction of his own existence, but the lure of total, absolute freedom is too strong.
The doctor declares, holding this simple wooden object that represents reality, the only freedom you can ever have.
Omega reaches out his metal gauntleted antimatter hand and opens the lid to reveal the flute. The collision of matter and antimatter is instantaneous.
The two doctors race for the TARDIS just as Omega's fingers touch the matter flute, and he and the world of his creation exploded into nothingness.
The universal crisis is averted, and the effects are felt immediately across space and time. The Time Lords report that the energy leak is checked, and the black hole, which was consuming all their power, is instantly converted into a new power source, a supernova that replenishes the cosmos.
The success of the mission is complete, And the return journey is described with the delightful analogy of an elastic snap.
The doctor explains that Omega's will was the tension holding all the anomalies in place. The time travel, the matter conversion, the stolen buildings.
And when that will was annihilated, everything returned to its proper place, instantly reversing all the temporal and physical anomalies.
Joe wakes up back in the unit lab. The furniture is back in its proper place, the entire building restored to its exact location as if nothing had happened, save for a massive collected headache.
Hollis returned to his bird sanctuary, which was exactly where he started. When his wife asks where he's been, he simply says he was out watching birds, knowing she wouldn't believe me if I told you.
And the Time Lords, saved from utter extinction, are, for once, genuinely grateful. The President and Chancellor agree that they must grant the Doctor the one reward that truly matters to him.
Revoking his decades-long sentence of exile to Earth.
This manifests as a new piece of equipment fading slowly, quietly into view on the lab bench. A new dematerialization circuit, the piece of technology he needs to fully control the TARDIS and choose his own destination.
He realizes instantly, they've revoked the sentence, think of it, all of space and time to roam in as I please.
But here is the final, profound, and surprising moment of this deep dive. Despite achieving the ultimate victory and regaining his absolute freedom, the freedom to go anywhere, anytime the Doctor hesitates.
He looks at Joe, the Brigadier, Sergeant Benton, and the familiar surroundings of the unit lab, and he realizes he'll miss his friends. For the first time in many years of wandering, he's found something that could be called a home, rooted in loyalty and friendship.
He finds he doesn't want to give it up completely, even for all the stars.
Which raises an important question for you, the learner, to carry forward from this. Is true freedom measured by the ability to go anywhere you want, unbound by responsibility? Or is it measured by the meaningful connections you actively choose not to leave behind?
The Doctor promises Joe a trip eventually, once the TARDIS is overhauled. A voyage to Metabilis, the famous blue planet of the Actian galaxy, sealing the promise that adventure, now freely chosen, will eventually continue alongside the connections he chose to keep.
A powerful ending to a deep dive about impossible science, overwhelming ego, and the simple, enduring truth that the most effective solution against a tyrant who wields universal power might just be a humble, unconverted wooden flute.